My name is Queen, and I'm about to vent.
Hey, Queen, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm well. I appreciate you for coming out.
Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Took a while for us to make this happen.
Yes.
And this was one of the interviews I was most excited about.
Really?
It was.
I'm not boring though.
Are you really? Are you really? Listen, you have a dope podcast and weekly, and it's seldom boring. You know what I'm saying? I would never say it was. It's a lot of things, and it's not boring. You're one of the few people I can listen to and disagree with 50% of the time, and then still be like, nah, but I ain't gonna lie, I kind of like this shit.
Oh, thank you.
No, I don't know whether that's a compliment or not, but it's always interesting. You understand? One thing I can't say is it's ever boring. You're in, what would you say exactly you do? Because I think personally like media, journalism, but what exactly would you say?
I think really I'm just a black girl trying to live. Like, I think that's what I do. Like, with my podcast, with Mixed Vixen, it's just me, like, just asserting myself. Like, I'm fucking here. So I guess that's media, journalism. That's what it's turned into.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's just kind of just me, like, asserting that I'm here. It's my activism. It's how I use my activism. So.
Okay, then. Do you believe it's effective? Effective as far as activism?
I think it is because there's a lot of image activism. So, like, if you think of someone like Barack Obama, I don't think he did a whole lot for us, but that image activism is something that is really big and important to just see a black person in that space because it makes you think, oh, this shit is possible. Oh, I could do that. So I know that a lot of work that I do with my podcast, Tea with Queen and J, I didn't say the name, Tea with Queen and J, from the listeners, like, living in New York, there's kind of a privilege of being around blackness, being around black diversity, being in a place where you can, like, be queer and kind of freer and all of this stuff. And most of the United States is not like that. So I kind of provide that space for people who live in these spaces who can't experience these things to hear someone who thinks the same way they do or feels the same way they do or, like, express these freedoms that I didn't even know that they could possibly even think of. So in that sense, yeah, hell yeah, the activism works.
Oh, makes sense. All right, then. So, like you said, New York, we're extremely, like, quote unquote liberal here. So, like, how do you, how different, like, being, like, all right, being that you've been in media, you get letters and you get emails, tweets, and all these things. How different is it outside of New York as far as the things that you talk about? Because I think I do look at a lot of things that you say from a lens of a New Yorker. And I think you've called me out on it once. It's like, I'm not talking about you then. You understand what I'm saying? I was like, no the fuck. You said some shit. And I was like, no the fuck I don't. And I, like, because some of the shit, it hits me in the chest because I do feel like some of the things that you do talk about, I do actually, like, feel like I stand up about. And and you know they always say, like, a hit dog gonna holler if it don't fly. Exactly. If it don't apply, let it fly. But sometimes I do take the shit personal. You have to remind me, like, it's not you, nigga. Then just don't fucking leave it fuck alone. Then mind your business. And I've learned to take your tweets as such. I just mind my fucking business. Like, I read it and be like, oh, this ain't got shit to do with me.
Yeah, I'm just like talking. If it was something to do with you, I'd be like, yo.
You bring it to my door. Nah, okay then. But I mean, as far as, like, in the scale of what you talk about, how much different would you say it is, like, outside of New York? Like, these things. Like, whether it be, like, misogyny or even trans or homophobia, racism. Yeah. All these things. How deep have you said the experiences are from New York?
So I think that I'm from the Bronx. I live in Brooklyn now. Most of my life, actually all of my life, I lived in New York. I didn't even go away to college. I went to college here. Okay. But my experiences with talking to people who have not lived in New York, or when I, leave the state or whatever, it's a lot of the racism, homophobia, transphobia, a lot of that stuff I think is more interpersonal. So a lot of the times they experience these things, it's on a personal level. So someone called them a nigga, someone called them a fag. Some, like that one-to-one thing. And I think in New York City, we are kind of shielded from that kind of personal interactions. One, because this is not a very personal city anyway to begin with. Like, it's millions of people living here. You're not going to Those that's limited. And then a lot of the racism here and a lot of the racism in the North in general is very, very, very systematic. Like it's all on the books. It's not the segregation is completely different. Like New York City is one of the most segregated cities. That's why gentrification is this huge horrible thing here. Or our school system is actually the most segregated school system in the country. But you won't think about those things because New York is very good at like veiling that. So I think that when you leave the country, you remember like, oh shit, I'm in fucking America. This is the USA. You know, like shit like that. So I think there is kind of a little bit of privilege living in New York City. You're a little more shielded. Not saying you're all the way shielded, but you're a little more shielded from that shit.
Okay, man.